Let's start the morning with talking about the Currumbin Eagles. Did you have a game on the weekend?
Yes, morning, boys. Yeah, no, we had a game Friday night, and I'll tell you what, we were short in a couple of numbers too. We were down on troops. We had a couple of boys injured during the week with some school footy. So, it's a little bit difficult with the junior footy for boys and girls. Obviously, you know, we got kids running around. They hurt themselves at school. They hurt themselves at home. They get sick and they miss out. So, yeah, challenging. Different challenges to the top line stuff in the NRL, but all good fun.
Injuries. Now, I as you know, Cam came on, I thought we'll talk to Cam about the injuries, but Cameron never got injured, so really he's got no experience.
No, he's got no idea.
We talk about hamstrings, like he didn't miss a game.
Did he have hamstrings? Did you have hamstrings, Cameron?
I don't think so. No, I've got no calves. No. I know that.
No calves. No.
Never did a pec. No ruptured bicep. No, none of the above.
No, it's concerning though, isn't it? Like the amount of injuries that we've picked up over the last fortnight.
Yeah.
And then across this weekend, we've already seen 3 or 4 hamstrings. You know, so and a couple of big ones, of course, particularly for New South Wales fans with Tommy Turbo and Nathan Cleary.
Go again.
Hey, boys, we've got to start talking about it. So we're only a couple of weeks away.
Cameron's not involved in Origin this year, but no. Cameron, we spoke to Corey Parker and Pat Welsh earlier this morning, and yes. Corey started off with that. He started with the line, New South Wales, you know. You blokes don't care.
You blokes got together over the weekend. You guys all had a Zoom chat. All Queenslanders had a Zoom chat. This is the line we're trotting out as of today.
Listen.
Trebojevic, Cleary, you know, all this tension there. Under the radar, Queensland.
As a rugby league fan, it's a shame to see those boys
injured
because you want the best players involved in the Origin series. But as a Queenslander, look, you're looking for every opportunity you can to.
Well, we can talk about New South. Yeah, we can talk about this year where neither of us are involved in Origin.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Rightio. So Nathan Cleary, let's say he's gone. So let's say he's out. The pitcher altogether.
Yes.
You've got Mitch Moses, who hasn't played for 6 weeks. He's the incumbent. He'll come back.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to play at Magic Round this weekend. Mm-hmm. And you've got Nico Hines, and you've got Cody Walker, who almost ruled himself out and said, "Look, I'm just not playing good enough. I don't expect to be picked." And then you've got Jerome Luai. So you've sort of got 3 players. You throw in Matt Burton as a bit of an outsider to grab the 6 jumper. But
smoky.
At the moment, who would you go with? You got Moses, Hines, Luai, probably the 3.
Yeah. Well,
who would be?
Well, I think Nico Hines has to go in there, doesn't he? Like he's playing
as a 7 or 6.
Well, that's the thing. Like depending on who else they throw in there with him, right? I just think he's the guy he's been playing the most consistent football out of all of them. Like you think about, Mitch Moses. He's been out now for what is it 4 weeks, 5 weeks maybe. Hasn't played in quite some time, so he's going to be coming into an Origin game, a first-up Origin game, a little bit underdone. There's only 2 weekends left until these teams are announced. So I think someone like Nico Hines, he's got the runs on the board. He's got a lot of time under his belt, and his team's on top. So he's doing something right as a number 7 at that footy club. I know he missed the game on the weekend with, I think he had calf tightness, but I think he would be the obvious choice to be in there. And I think if he goes in, I think he does go in as a 7. And then outside of that, is it Jerome Luai?
Well,
which way are you going, Brandy? Brandy, are you strong on Moses only has to get, say, 1 game under his belt, prove his fitness, and he's in?
I'd like to see him play 2. So if he plays Magic Round and next weekend, I think Mitch is the type of player, and he's been there before. So I would nearly go with Mitch Moses as halfback and Nico Hines as 5'8".
Yeah. Okay.
On the text,
what about Luke Keary? What about Luke Keary? 184 puts on the text. Boys, why not Luke Keary? Is he in the mix?
I don't
One Origin game? No?
I don't think so. No. Not in front of those other players, no. And I know he's playing some pretty good footy as well at the moment, and the Roosters are up and about, but I think Nico at least goes in there. And Brandy, I don't mind that idea. Like if he goes in and plays 6 and you got Moses as 7, he's played that role before, Nico. Like he's played plenty of games as a 6, like when
Really
with
sort
his
of
time at the
complete-
Melbourne
well,
Storm, and
Exactly. His fullback work allows him. He can play like a running 6.
that's right. Yep.
All right, on the text, the League Nut says, "G'day, fellas. Billy Slater the Sniper has been busy taking out the enemy one by one. We need to take Slater out before we lose everyone. And while we're at it, just take out the bunker too." So thank you, League Nut, for that text, just solving the world's problems.
I think if Nathan Cleary was available, I'd go Jerome Luai, but I think without Cleary, I'd plumb for Moses and Hines as long as Moses gets through the next couple of games.
Yep. Yeah, I'll ask you a question. Manly without Tom Trbojevic, and their form has been shaky with Tom Trbojevic. The last few weeks I've been really underwhelmed by Manly, certainly at home when they led Canberra 20-0. Even when they got to 20-0, I didn't think they were playing that well, and now they've lost again. But without Tom Trbojevic, where's their season headed? If they were out without him for a good chunk, and let's say it's the next 6-7 weeks, 5 games, are you worried about Manly?
Oh, absolutely. I think if you look at their last couple of games, Vossi, there's some worrying signs. And as you mentioned, like both sides, both times in those 2 rounds, Tom has been playing. So they gave up the 20-point lead against the Raiders, and then last week they were up. I think they were up 16-4 against the Dolphins. So when you're in a position like that with the caliber of players that you do have in your footy side, you need to be able to close those games out. But they've failed to do so in consecutive weeks. So that's got to be a worrying sign for Anthony Seibold as coach to find out exactly what's going on there. Why is it that they're not being able to finish these games off? Why are they just fading out of these matches? So it makes it harder now without Tom. Like we've seen over the past 3 seasons when he's gone down with injury that they're a completely different side. I'd suggest Ruben Garrick would go back to fullback. And they'd have a reshuffle in the back line. And, Ruben Garrick, he's a wonderful player. I love watching Ruben Garrick play. He's ultra consistent. But when it gets down to the big games, depending on how bad Turbo's hamstring is, like if he's missing, 5 or 6 matches, that's a big blow.
Now, what about the teams, the streaks, Brandy? What about the droughts? Any of these teams? I'll canvass you 2 blokes. Cowboys lost their last 5. Warriors lost their last 4. Tigers lost their last 6. Souths lost their last 4. Any of those that you would be supremely confident that they will turn their seasons around, Brandy? Any of those 4?
No, not with the injury. Depending on what happens with Sean Johnson. And Sean Johnson's form over the last month has been very scratchy, and they rely so much on him. I think he's their most important player, certainly with the ball. I know they've got Wade Egan, who's very good out of dummy half, and Adam Fanua-Blake does take them forward, and that's important. But I still, if Johnson's not there dictating, and depending on how bad that pec is, they've got no one left. Harris Tavita's out for another 3 or 4 weeks. You've got the broken leg for Metcalf. Not sure when he's due back. They've got Tamari Martin, who's doing nothing. I barely noticed Tamari Martin on the field. So now Tamari Martin will be the halfback. If Johnson is out, he'll definitely be out for this round. If he's out for an extended period, I don't see the Warriors turning around what's happened to them over the last month. It's gone down the tube.
Your last $10, Cameron, you're down to your last $10. You want to put it on any one of those, Cowboys, Warriors, Tigers, South, to turn their season around and to make top 8?
Yeah. Looking at rosters, it's got to be the Cowboys. It has to be the Cowboys. Like, given what they're able to produce with the football, we've seen already this year, like what they've been able to produce. But they need to find some enthusiasm,
some life.
Like that game yesterday, like they started the game like quite well. Like it was like the first, the opening 5 or 6 minutes. They looked like they were there for the fight, but after that sort of 6-minute period had finished, they were flat. They just and at times in that game, and I was there, I called the game live, and they just didn't look interested. Comparing that to the opposition, like in the Titans, who got out to a 20-point, it was 20-0 at half time. Like they looked like they were full of energy, they were full of enthusiasm, they wanted to be there and wanted to win that game. and it took some injuries to some key players of the Titans, like Kieran Foran went off with a hamstring issue, AJ Brimson, groin. I think they lost a couple of other players as well, which allowed the Cowboys to fight back and nearly jag a victory at the death of the game. But they just, I'm not too sure what's happening with the Cowboys at the moment. That's 5 in a row that they've lost. The last victory they had was against the Titans in round 5, and they just, Brandy, they lacked energy, didn't they?
Yeah, there was no focus. There was no. They looked sluggish with the ball. They were on the back foot defensively. Todd Payton signed a long-term deal with the Cowboys.
Yeah,
but and you keep pointing to the roster, and that's true. And I said that yesterday. I said, well, can the Cowboys lift themselves at half-time? I said, well, when you look at their side, and they only got through 11 sets in the first half, I thought, well, if possession swings around, they are a team that can score points and score them quickly.
Yeah.
But you need more than that to compete throughout the season, and they've got nothing at the moment. Like they haven't. No. They have been so disappointing, and I'd look at that team and say, well, they've still got. They've had a couple of players miss through injury, but it's not a massive injury concern. Still got Reuben Cotter. He's been there.
Drinkwater's been there all season.
There's got to be.
Reece Robson plays every minute.
If the coach can't lift them and get them to play with some sort of intensity, well, there could be problems that we don't know about going on up there in Townsville.
Well, I think if when those Cowboys players get home today, or if they got home last night and they get a chance to watch that game, I think they need to look at their teammate Griffin Neame. I think he was
the
one
best
guy
by
that
a mile.
really had a go yesterday. Like every time he ran the ball, he ran it with a little bit of intent, a bit of venom. Like he was trying to make a difference. Now I know at different stages, Drinkwater had a good run late in the game where he picked up a ball close to the line and ran 50 metres. Val Holmes had a couple of strong carries, but they were few and far between. Whereas I thought Griffin Neame, every time he had a chance to carry the ball or make a tackle, he was trying to make a difference for his footy side. So if all of those Cowboys players, sort of review that game and look back and go, well, if we all go out and play like he did, they'd be winning more games than they'd lose. I'll tell you that.
All right, throw a few texts at you, boys. Cam, here's left field from 994. He says, why not the old Tigers combination of Moses and Brooks? Any chance? Luke Brooks, State of Origin. He's playing 5'8" for Manly. If Moses was halfback, you'd go, okay.
No, he's had some good moments for Manly, but
not great.
No.
Not great, no. Morning, fellas. Can any of you explain to me how there was no penalty or report for the tackle that injured Sean Johnson? Looks to me like a clear chicken wing, says Kane. Now, that we may find that today. There may be a charge today. Maybe a charge.
I think there probably will be, because there was a little bit extra sort of mayonnaise on the effort to bend the arm back.
Some mayo, yes.
Well, he got him in an awkward position, and he got his arm, and then there was that little bit of I'll give that a little bit more, and that's where Johnson picked up the pec injury. We'll find out how serious that is today. Did anyone see this? Cam, I know you covered for footy, Dolphins, Eagles, Titans, but did you watch any boxing? Boys, no wonder Tavita Pangai Jr. wants to return to footy. He was demolished in 70 seconds on the weekend.
Yes.
Is that right?
I seen a little clip of it last night. Yeah, not good viewing for
really 70 seconds.
Junior fans.
Blake had never won a fight. They got him too. Never won a fight.
Yeah, got him with a little short sort of left hook. Yeah.
Wow.
And it was all over. No,
all right, here's a question for you, Cameron. Cameron, boys, from what you've seen from the Dogs, the Bulldogs, and the rest of the table, do you see them making the top 8? For how they played against the Panthers, they were pretty good. I said at the end, Penrith is Everest, and the Bulldogs have got to base camp. There's a long way to go from base camp to the top of Everest, but at least they're on the climb. Is that fair comment, the Bulldogs?
Yeah, I love... The thing that I've liked about the Bulldogs over the last few weeks is their attitude towards their footy. They're playing pretty tough, and they've got those style of players that Cameron Ciraldo has recruited to that footy club. They don't mind getting into arm wrestles. They don't mind playing some of the tough stuff. So, to be able to take it to Penrith for as long as they did was good signs. Now, we got to acknowledge that Cleary went off. It was in the first half, wasn't it? So they were down their main man
back
for the
in
most
the first
part.
Half.
Yeah, most part of the game. So you got to acknowledge that. But, there are some good signs from that footy club that they are building potentially for something really special in the coming years.
The Surfing Knight says, boys, after the weekend round, does Bradman Best get a look in for Origin? Well, he is an incumbent, and he was very good in Game 3 last year, and hasn't set the world on fire, but that doesn't mean you don't pick him for Origin, but he was outstanding. I was in Tamworth Cam, and I covered that game, and Bradman Best was at his really as good as I've seen him this year.
That's what... You've got a lot of names to pick from in those sort of outside backs sort of positions, haven't you? Like you've got Crichton, Best, Lomax is playing well, Suoli'i. There's a lot of names there that you could go to. But yeah, Bradman, he got that opportunity in Game 3 last year, and he played extremely well. So he could be there again. He could be there, and he's a great ball runner. Great ball runner, just so hard to handle when he's on.
Yeah, that was evident on the weekend.
We'll have a pull-up-your-socks moment for Underworks after the break. Also on the text, Barry D says that Sean Johnson was injured before the chicken wing. I mean, the chicken wing, well, if it was a chicken wing, it wouldn't have helped. But he's saying there was an injury there. He was inconvenienced for a fair deal of the game. Thank you, Barry D, for the text. Keep them coming in. Definitely buffalo sauce on that Luke Keary tackle, Damo from Narrabeen. So, Mayo, he's gone the buffalo sauce. Thank you for that. And John of Harrington Park says we should get sponsors for tackles, another little revenue raiser. So the chicken wing could be called the Steggles. So he's saying bring on board sponsors like you do with the video and that sort of thing. So good suggestion, John. You're a thinker. 22 after 8. The Cameron Smith, the GOAT, with us on a Monday morning. Firing your questions right here on the Home of Sport SEN.